Mayor, it's good to see you again.
You too, Jason.
We're in what is going to be the new City Hall for Fort Worth. You guys win for City Halls in the state. This is a 20-story glass skyscraper building. Why did the city need such a massive complex like this?
Well, I think honestly credit goes to our city manager and then Mayor Price and that council for purchasing this building. It was the middle of COVID and this building was for sale, and we'd been talking for years about the need for a new city hall. You've been to our current city hall. The story tells itself about the need for it. It's an older one, new facility. We've way outgrown it. And this is a Class A office space for a Class A city. And we're really excited about the move coming up in January is when the council will move into the 20th floor.
The budget for this has doubled, but you guys hope to see some cost savings by pulling so many departments into one area.
Yeah, we're going to resell, we're going to sell, put things on the market that the city doesn't need to hold on to, consolidate workforce, create an incredible, much better workflow for different departments to be able to work together here in this space. And to have built a new building, which was originally our plan, somewhere in downtown, was going to be incredibly expensive. I think all told we probably saved taxpayers at least $150 million not having to go and build a new facility. And yes, this is a beautiful building, but this building doesn't belong to council or mayor or city managers. This building belongs to the people at Fort Worth, and I think they'll be really excited to come in this space and feel like it's a place that they can be proud of.
Let's talk about the accomplishments in 2023. Largest tax rate reduction in at least 34 years, I believe. Mowing parks more often, picking up trash in the median. These are small things, but they add up. They add up to folks and the actual visibility of the city. Focusing on street lights and striping of streets. More people to clean up homeless camps. What are your priorities now for 2024?
Well, it's a continuation of the basics that every city government should be focused on across the United States, especially as the fastest growing large city in the entire country. We need to act like it. People are voting with their feet. They want to live here in the city of Fort Worth. I don't blame them. We have an incredibly high quality of life, but that won't continue if you don't really focus on the things that, to your point, they may seem small, but they absolutely add up, and your residents start to notice them. We want to be the cleanest, safest city in America, and I know we're on the right track, and we'll continue that trajectory in 2024.
What challenges do you see lying ahead?
The same challenges that any large city has. Really having to meet the needs of your homeless community, put them in housing, clean up the streets of Fort Worth. Public safety continues to be a #1 priority in our community. We hope to be fully staffed with Fort Worth Police Department by 2026, and we're on the road to do that. And that requires a tremendous amount of effort by our command staff led by Chief Neil Noakes, the support from the Fort Worth community, which I'm incredibly appreciative of, to support our police officers who have an incredibly difficult job, but also meeting the needs of community in a different way, which we are doing that today. And then lastly, just thinking about what it looks like to run a large city from an infrastructure standpoint. The decisions we're making right now, especially on transportation infrastructure, water quality, will absolutely have an impact 10, 20, 30 years down the road. And I'm very proud of the city staff for having that outlook and that vision moving forward.
Let's talk about homelessness for a moment. It's been increasing. As the city's doing better, homelessness is increasing. I believe the city has invested, more than $41 million to help with this issue. Why are the numbers growing?
Housing First is an incredibly important model. You mentioned $41 million. That's permanent supportive housing, affordable housing units we built across the city of Fort Worth. That's in partnership with our partners at Tarrant County. Tarrant County Homeless Coalition and philanthropy has stepped up in big ways to match some of that funding. We have seen an uptick in homelessness, especially among children and families. A lot of it maybe comes from policy and the ending of different programs to prevent eviction rates and put additional money into rental assistance during COVID, but also just cost of living is rising across the United States right now. But while we're in a rough patch right now, I would put our policies against any other city in the country. We're meeting the needs of homeless individuals differently. We're focused on chronically homeless to get them off the streets into services and wraparound care that they need, but also rapidly rehouse families that don't need to be in a shelter environment. They need a voucher and they need into rental assistance as quickly as possible.
Is $41 million enough?
No, it's not, unfortunately, but you need to be really smart. You cannot spend your way out of this problem. Unfortunately, homelessness is systemic across the United States in a variety of different ways. Housing affordability is a factor, mental health is a huge factor, substance abuse continues to contribute, and then making sure people are in living wage jobs that can actually afford to live in a house or an apartment across the city.
One of your priorities we've talked about over the past few years is to preserve open space for parks. 10,000 acres of open space is what you have targeted over the next 5 years. Are you going to be able to accomplish that?
Absolutely. I think that goal honestly is modest. We want to meet goals in really over overarch, and make a big difference in our goals around green space.
Will you exceed that?
I think we will, and I'm very proud to have a green space champion at my side, and Mark McDaniel, who works for the City of Fort Worth. We're partnered, importantly, with people like the Tarrant Regional Water District and Dan Buman and his team. This is a developed effort over a series of years that really needed additional attention. So our good-natured initiative will really help elevate this work, bring in the private sector and community members to really understand what government needs to be doing differently. We lose 50 acres a week, Jason, to development in the city of Fort Worth. And I said this during my State of the City, I meant it. I don't want to pave paradise, and I feel this immense sense of responsibility and urgency to make sure we set up the foundation and policies in place today while I'm mayor, and can really use my bully pulpit as a leader in this community. But I know that whoever else comes after me, mayors and councils and leaders, will really want to take the torch and grow together. You have to understand my personal experience. I was really lucky to grow up on a ranch farm that my family, I grew up in 2 miles down a dirt road. I've told this story numerous times. I had a party line until I was about 15 years old.
With the other neighbors around there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think my nearest neighbor was at 85, so it was a different playmate situation on a bicycle than a lot of people grew up with. I mentioned that because I kind of took for granted how special it was to walk outside and you could run a mile without ever hitting a fence line. And for me in Fort Worth, these children that are growing up here have this rich urban environment, and you deserve to have beautiful green space and parkland regardless of zip code. And we're going to achieve that in the city. Parkland,
though, does not create revenue on the tax rolls.
It may not, but I disagree. I think in some ways, directly it may not, but this is an economic development tool. As you know, people are voting with their feet across the United States. They want to live in a place they can grow a family and have a high quality of life. I don't want to live in a place that doesn't have beautiful parks for my kids to play in. I know you certainly don't either. And so if you don't preserve open space and green space and really spend money to enhance those efforts, all of your economic development efforts are really for naught.
Let's talk about economic development here. $2 billion worth of development underway in the city, in downtown Fort Worth right now. It's new commercial office space, new apartments, new housing, 1,500 hotel rooms. You mentioned earlier Fort Worth growing at 4 times the speed of Austin. Did I get that stat right?
You did, yeah.
Does managing all that concern you? Because when I drive in Austin, I'm a little concerned about any time of day I'm going to hit traffic.
Well, I think we benefit from being able to learn lessons from cities like Austin.
What
We're really
did you learn
hesitant.
From Austin?
Well, number one is you have to build the roads and infrastructure you need to make sure you can get people to and from. And I think they were really hesitant to do that for decades, sort of ignoring the fact of how fast they were growing. You mentioned the development that's happening. We also have over $3 billion of transportation infrastructure across Tarrant County in process right now on the ground, finishing 35 and 3C. Southeast Connector, those are just 2 notable projects. We're working on design and finishing out I-30. But also inside the city of Fort Worth, the roads and streets that we're responsible for, those east-west corridors that really get people to and from are incredibly important. Partner with Trinity Metro and what the public transit looks like into the future is also critical. I mentioned water earlier. I mean, if you look across the country right now, there are large cities that are incredibly successful that are really grappling with what water quality and quantity looks like in their communities. And I think the city of Fort Worth, thanks to our partnership with TRWD, is really in a great place for success. And this takes effort among every different partner, and I have to thank the North Central Texas Council of Governments and their focus on what our region will look like over the next 10, 20, 50 years to really support our efforts toward making sure we have the infrastructure in place to support the growth we know is coming in North Texas.
One last question for you here too. Fort Worth City Council increased from 9 members to 11 members. That means you have to whip a lot more votes to get what you want passed over there. Is that any more challenging to navigate as you try to manage the growth in this city?
It can be. I think it's almost like when you have one child and you go to 3 kids and you're like, how do you manage? I have wonderful colleagues that I work alongside. They reflect their districts. In some ways it actually has helped because each council district now feels like they have better representation, a smaller footprint of geography, someone that's really more focused on their needs because they have a less vast area to cover. And the 2 new members that we added with this election cycle, Councilman Charlie Larsdorf and Councilwoman Jeanette Martinez, our first Latina ever on City Council in City of Fort Worth, are incredibly thoughtful members. So right now, I think we really do reflect the city, which is incredibly positive. So overall, I would give it an A+ in redistricting to get to this number of council members.
Mayor, you always have such a positive attitude. What are you concerned about going into 24?
You mentioned growth earlier. Continuing what we have right now and to making sure we're forward-looking, have that vision in place. Number two is, what is the economy going to look like? I think in many ways DFW has been a bit in a bubble, even with interest rates increasing and the economy slowing down. So you get different opinions. I'm sure you've interviewed folks about this. What does it look like in North Texas? We have seen permitting slow down in development services. That's sometimes an indication as well, but still trying to be optimistic. And then lastly, really focused on what the future looks like. Sometimes it's really hard when you're a mayor to get mired down in the day-to-day crisis du jour of whatever's going on. But you have to keep your head up and really focus on what does the city look like long after I'm mayor. And I think right now we're in a great place, and I'm really proud to be the champion for this city.
Mayor, thanks for the time.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate you.